This session is both for beginners and experts. And I know many of you signed up for this session because this is so relevant for the times. No matter where you're coming in from, whether you're an expert who have speaking engagements throughout the year, and now majority of them have been canceled, to those of you who are just trying to kick off your career and don't know even where to start, this session is a concrete, practical session on the top strategies and tips that not only I have leveraged as a speaker, but also what we've advised speakers who try to speak at our conferences around the world. So just to introduce myself, my name is Christine Ntim. I am a mother, I'm a wife, and an ecosystem builder. I have two beautiful little daughters. My husband and I, we partner and do programs and sessions like this around the world. And my background as a serial entrepreneur, my first startup company, Vendetti, is actually a business case study at Harvard Business School. I built that company from scratch and learned so much from the experience as a founder building that company, that through my frustrations of understanding the lack of resources and support for our entrepreneurs within funding, customer acquisition, growth hacking, launched with my partner the global startup ecosystem back in 2015. And currently I'm the chief marketing officer of this organization. And we are well renowned for working with over 140 different corporate partners and media networks to build the largest networks of tech summits around the world, but also the largest, we're the first and the largest digital accelerator on the planet, accelerating 1,000 companies every single year from 90 different countries. So with that, that's my current role in the tech ecosystem. My background as a graduate, I'm a Dartmouth alum. I've also been in institutions like Singularity University, Draper University. So definitely been in the tech in Silicon Valley space for a while. But the reason why I want to host this session is mainly for those of you who are trying to build a speaker career. And my background, if you Google my name right now, you will see dozens of media articles from Forbes to Inc. magazine to Entrepreneur magazine, featuring me either speaking at a conference or speaking on content that's relevant to the times. And I've spoken at conferences from all over the world, to as small as 500 people at a corporate conference to as big as 6,000 people in conferences in Malaysia and the United Kingdom. And when I look at, those who are trying to build and scale their speaker career, I've spoken on topics like this, like how to build your brand, how to scale your brand, how to monetize your brand. And this content is so relevant right now as people are trying to understand that the event ecosystem during this pandemic this year is going through such a rapid transition. A lot of people are trying to see either A, how do they salvage their speaker career during this pandemic, or B, kick it off, right? And so when you look at our organization, we connect with speakers all the time. So I'm speaking from a perspective of someone who's actually a public speaker. So I actually know what it feels like to put myself out there and get speaking engagements, but also as an event organizer and an event planner who receive thousands of speaker applications. So this webinar is going to give you both perspectives. So that's actually very lucky for many of you who are on this session, because you're going to be able to get both sides of the table to see exactly how it feels to actually navigate both perspectives. Brief introduction about what you're going to get out of this program is that let's just start with the fact that the event industry is undergoing rapid, catastrophic changes that's unprecedented because of the coronavirus pandemic. Many are saying things like, group gatherings won't be the same again. People are concerned. How is things going to be at the end of the year, 2021 and beyond? But one thing I will say is, sometimes chaos is a ladder. Just because there's so many inconsistencies with what's happened with the event industry doesn't mean there's an opportunity to either kick off your speaker career or actually skyrocket that speaker career. Because right now, people are open to opportunity, people are open to perspective, people are also in a very vulnerable place to be very open to new relationships, new influencers, and new profiles, right? And so that's why this is such a crucial thing that you need to really look into to plan out the rest of the year when it comes to speaking engagements. So during the course of this session, we're gonna first start with the basics, right? What is an event? What events are growing as virtual, and what is the event speaker circuit? Because before I go over the basics on how to build a public speaker career with virtual events in 2020, you really need to have a basic understanding about the event ecosystem and what an event speaker circuit actually looks like. Then we'll break it down into 3 parts, because again, it's a lot to soak in. And many of you who've been on my sessions before know I don't give fluff. I'm very practical and I'm very intense with the amount of content that I share with you. I share so much content that a lot of people say, please just break it down so I can follow. So there's a 3-part breakdown where I'm going to talk about part 1, how to package your virtual speaker package, right? How to actually brand yourself and package yourself so that way you come off valuable when you're presenting yourself to event organizers. Part 2 will be how to source virtual speaking engagements, because it's not that you build it and they will come. You can't just be an amazing influencer and think that people are just going to be banging at your door to invite you to be a speaker. And part 3, how to monetize virtual speaking engagements. This is probably one of the biggest ones, right? Because it's great to get exposure, it's great to get opportunities, but how do you monetize, speaking opportunities? And one thing I will say is it won't be the way that you consider, because a lot of times people think that in order to monetize their speaking engagement, they just need to charge speaker fees. I will share with you the secret as to how to actually monetize your speaking engagement a lot better than speaker fees. So we'll go over those secret tips at the end of the call. Again, I want to remind everyone, this is a live session. So let's dive into the content. So let's start with the basics. We need to understand the event ecosystem and what events are, so that way we're all on the same page. Now, by definition, I've said this before, an event is an activity that's planned for a special purpose and usually involves the convening of one or more people. What does that mean? I want to make sure that you understand that events are not just, conferences, business seminars. It could be anything. It could be your birthday. It could be, your party. It could be our dinner, as long as a convening of the minds, 1 to more people, that's considered an event. So that opens up your purview of all the different events you could be a part of, all the different events you could tap into in 2020. Now let's talk about the speaker circuit. Now, a lot of people ask, what is the speaker circuit, right? There is a machine as to how event organizers select speakers for their event. And a lot of people are not aware of that, right? And let's start by giving you a perspective from an event organizer's perspective, so that way you can understand. Now, keep in mind, event organizers, especially the more experienced ones, are overwhelmed with requests, both generic and referred. What I mean by generic is pretty much cold emails, cold outreach from people that do not know, saying, hey, I have a great profile. Can I speak at this event? Can I do X? Can I do Y? Right? Event organizers are constantly overwhelmed with submissions, right? And also, if you are aware of the fact that event organizers are, especially the ones who are experienced, are usually inundated with messages about people wanting to speak at their events, 2 things you need to be aware of. 1, stop taking it personal if they don't select you as a speaker, because we've seen this on our end all the time, where we have people who, whether they're great profiles or whether they're mediocre profiles, both get very, very aggressive, emotional. We've even sometimes, I actually have a 3-part series to this during the Personal Branding Accelerator that I host, where I even show screenshots of people who are emailing our account to be a speaker. They don't get a response, and they actually verbally, for lack of French, say things so aggressively in the email that we have to blacklist them, right? You don't want to be that person that personalizes an outreach for whatever reason that you assume and send aggressive messages regarding your profile, whether you feel like you're valid in being chosen as a speaker or not. Be very mindful of how you communicate, right? So that's 1. Second, event organizers usually have a pie percentage on speaker selections. And I'll go over that pie because this will radically change how you see how your submission goes in the cognition when it comes to speaking at an event. And what I mean by pie percentage, they have, before they even announce an event, at least 50% of the speaker slots are already pre-confirmed, right? Usually as an event organizer, if you're really in this space, you cannot announce an event until you already have an ecosystem already of speakers that you will be presenting to the public. So a lot of people think like, yo, this event has let's say 50 speakers that they're gonna announce, so that's 50 spots that I could be able to be selected as a speaker. Actually, you probably have access to maybe 20 or 10 speaker spots that's open to the public, right? So be very mindful of that percentage pie, and I'll go over that in depth a little bit more later on in this session. Next, event organizers who are experienced usually reflect their personal network. So usually the speaker lineup for an event is usually something that reflects the speaker network. So a best, example of this is the speakers that we organize at GSC. A lot of our speakers in our network, we have close to 300 plus speakers that we rotate a lot through all of our global events. But in general, we have close to 1,000 speakers in our network that we engage with around the world. And one thing that people are usually shocked to find is that a majority of them people that I know personally from other events, other engagements, other partnerships. And so I trust not only them as individuals, but I also trust that they're able to deliver on their expertise. And we won't have time to go over this on this session. Again, I go over this during my personal branding accelerator program, but you could be a great individual with great expertise. But a lot of people with expertise don't know how to express that expertise well, which is why you're not selected as a speaker. And you have to coach yourself to be able to take what's in your head out to the public in a way that's engaging, insightful, and very, very fruitful to the audience at hand. And that audience is not only the people in the crowd, but also the event organizers as well. So that way they're promoting the event in a very efficient way. So I want to make that clear that you first need to understand that speaker circuit and how it operates, because it's a machine. And when you think about a multi-billion-dollar event industry that operates, people have a process and a system with engaging speakers and experts, and you need to be very, very mindful of how that works in order to put yourself out there for speaking engagements and opportunities. So let's move to the next part. Now let's look at the speaker lineup. So remember I told you about that pie, right? I'm going to break down that pie too, because again, a lot of people are always shocked to find out that, the lineup makes no sense when you announce it to the public. But when you look at the pie, you realize like, wow, I didn't really have as much as a chance to get selected as a speaker as I thought. So let's talk about that pie, right? So when you think about the pie, let's start here, right? There's a percentage in the speaker circuit. This is usually how a speaker lineup is broken down. First, let's start with the influencers. I don't care, and I'm going to be very blunt and candid and bold throughout this session because I need to make sure that this is useful to you so that way you walk away empowered, but also with the right knowledge at hand, because this is something a lot of speakers don't understand. The first target that people are going for every event is the influencer hook. That influencer hook is someone where if they put it on the website, people want to come to the event. That influencer hook, depending on the event, it could be a celebrity. It could be the headliner. It could be a government official. It could be, a media representative. If you're not an influencer hook, don't expect influencer hook expectations. We've seen this many times before, where someone would, email the account and say, I want to be a speaker. I have all these accolades behind me. I've done all these different things around the world. Invite me to be as a speaker, but you're not an influencer hook. You're not a reason why someone will book tickets to come to that event, which means you're not the high end priority. So you need to be aware of who's the influencer hook of the event and who's the one that they're focused on being the face of that event in many different ways. So understand that. So a good, 10 to 20% of the event on the speaker lineup pie is going to be focused on influencer hooks, people who they know will drive traffic to the event. The second one are paid sponsors, obviously, right? Especially if the event is free, especially when you think about paid events that have such crazy costs. The event industry, even though it's increasing in size, that means, even vendor costs are increasing in size as well, right? And so paid sponsors get a priority to speak at the event, right? So those are the corporate networks who are sponsoring, the food, the catering, all these different elements of an event. They're also the next part of the pie. So if you're following me here, that's already about 40% already covered, right? So of speakers. Third, you have the ecosystem partners. Now, I want to be very clear about ecosystem partners. Ecosystem partners are not just the one who are promoting the event and talking about the event. These are people that make the event successful in a crucial way. For example, an ecosystem partner could be the venue host who is sponsoring the event for free. So they're not giving cash capital, right? But they're hosting the event, right? And not charging us for the space, right? That's an ecosystem partner, a very strong ecosystem partner. Another ecosystem partner could be maybe a media provider. So we partner with Forbes all the time with a lot of our events. And so they're not paying cash to sponsor the event, but they're getting the word out there as an ecosystem partner. So I want to make that very clear, because a lot of times, you know, in the industry, a lot of event organizers reach out to accelerators or incubators or other ecosystem enablers to say, hey, can you share this with your network so we can get 10 or 20 or 30 registrations for your network? That doesn't mean that you're a priority to speak at the event because you are an ecosystem enabler, right? So again, look at who are the ecosystem partners of the event, and they usually will be speaking at the program. And then you have the next section of the pie, which is the referral community. And keep in mind that referral community are the main stakeholders of the event. So it's either other speakers, other alumni of the program, right? Attendees who are saying, hey, this is a great speaker. But we usually prioritize either other speaker referrals or the team referrals. So for example, GSC, we have a big team, right? And so each team member might say, hey, you know, we've seen these speakers in the ecosystem doing really well. I want to recommend them. So a lot of times at the Global Startup Ecosystem, people flood my email box, right? Saying, hey, Christine, I want to speak at the event. I won't be able to get through them, right? But let's say you reach out to our head of events, right? And she's seeing your profile. She can say, hey, Christine, these are like 30 profiles that we've seen that are doing really well around the world. We should invite them to speak at XYZ event, right? And so that's the referral community. And finally, probably the final 10% of this pie are new speakers, right? And these are speakers who are either reaching out via email, they're applying because through the speaker application. These are new speakers. So if you're in this boat, you have to understand that there are 4 critical influencers or ecosystem pie people that come before you. So that's the influencer hooks, the sponsors, the lead partners, and the referral community. So there's already a cluster of enablers that make this event successful that is already crucial to the event. So if you're in that E category, new speakers, and keep in mind, you don't have to be a new speaker in your career. What I mean is that you're a new speaker for this event. I want to make that very, very clear. Because a lot of times people say, well, I'm an experienced speaker. I speak at conferences around the world. That does not matter. If you are a new speaker for that specific event, you're still in that category. So hopefully this drastically changes your perception of how the speaker lineup is done. And I know I spent a lot of time on this, but I wanted to make sure that it's clear that you understand how the speaker lineup percentage usually works behind the scenes, so that way you're not confused when you see decisions are being made a certain way, all right? So now that we got that out our system, where we understand what an event is, what type of events to tap into, and what the speaker lineup pie looks like, let's talk about the practical steps you need to make sure that you go from being a part of that last category to those higher categories, if that makes sense, right? And so let's talk about part 1, how to package your virtual speaker package. Now keep in mind, we're talking about virtual events, right? Because right now, close to 96% of all events scheduled for 2020 as completely go online or have an online element to it, which means almost every event you could think of, small, big, medium, and large, has gone online. So you already know it's already difficult in a sense to get engagements for in-person events. How do you package yourself for virtual events, right? It's a completely different beast. Let's talk about that. So first and foremost, are you marketable? Let's start with that. Press kit. Did you package your speaker career in a way that's digestible for people to say, hey, I want to be a part of that, right? A lot of times I've seen people email the account and say, I want to speak. Here's a link to my profile, right? My LinkedIn page. That's not enough. Not only is it disrespectful, it makes you think that you don't respect our event, right? Especially if you're cold outreaching, right? And so make sure that you showcase, maybe attach a PDF. Here's all the events I've spoken at. Here's my website where you can see what we're doing. Make sure you're marketable. So if you don't have a cheat sheet or one place where someone can find everything they need to find about you, you're not doing it right. So have a press kit. It could be simple as a PDF, 1-pager showing your name, your expertise, where you've been featured, topics that you speak on. Make it very clear that you are marketable so people can see what you do. Are you relevant? That's the next thing, right? You can have a great background. So earlier today, I shared with you my background, all the corporate networks I work with, the alumni networks I'm a part of. I mean, if you look at my resume, it's crazy, right? but that doesn't mean I'm relevant for this event. That doesn't mean I'm relevant for this time, right? So you got to show what are your recent features. How do the topics that you speak on, trend with what's happening today? So for example, a lot of people know that I'm really good at talking about marketing hacks. I'm a marketing funnel machine. That's the reason why I'm the chief marketing officer of the global startup ecosystem. I'm the marketing muscle of this entity. And so we're well known for our marketing apparatus, right? But right now, I'm probably showing people how to market digitally, how to market virtually. So I'm still capitalizing on that expertise in that topic, but zoning in on the trend of the time. Another thing, I used to talk about topics about career development, career mapping, career hacking. That's something I'm well known for, how to actually career hack yourself into the future. Now, I've actually customized and focused more so on the subset, which is future of work. And so the first part is, are you marketable? The second part is, are you relevant? So you need to be very clear with showcasing the relevancy of not only your expertise from the past, but why you're good to talk about what's happening now. And right now with this coronavirus epidemic, or actually pandemic at this point, it's important that you are relevant for people to listen to right now. So be very clear on articulating that to people so the way people are aware of that. The third thing is, are you experienced? Now, this is really, really important because if you go back here, marketable, you package yourself very well. Relevancy, you made sure that, you're time sensitive. People need to book you now because you have content that people need right now, right? Now, are you experienced? Now, experience, you might think experience is just about the amount of speaking engagements you have, but I want to break this down specifically because, again, I want to change your perspective about how you outreach to people when it comes to building your speaker career. Let's talk about speaker mileage, right? A lot of times people just showcase their tenure. I speak at over 30 different conferences. This is what I've done, whatever, right? But what we've seen on our side as event organizers, people who are not experienced with speaking engagements are big time suckers for the organization. And I want to make this very blunt. We usually, even if you have great content, won't book you as a speaker because we could tell by your email, we could tell by your outreach, you're going to be a pain for our events team when it comes to booking you. And let me explain this. I'm going to give you actual tangible stories from this. We've had new speakers where we say, you know what, thank you for submitting your request. By the way, they emailed us asking us to speak at our event. We didn't outreach them. They emailed us. And they respond and say, okay, thank you for booking me as, confirming me as a speaker. What's the speaker budget fee? Or, what are the requirements for XYZ? When do you guys, when will you send me the full agenda for this? When can I get this? When will you give me my speaker flyer? When will you do this? They make such a list of demands and we're thinking to ourselves, why do we confirm this person as a speaker? Right? And usually people who are novice speakers are not good with just being this is flowing, right? Just being fluid, right? A lot of times, when event organizers are organizing events, so many things are happening at once, right? They're flooded with messages from attendees. They're flooded with messages from partners about so many different logistical details. If you're that one person that emails the account almost every single day about another question, oh, hey, when is the updated agenda? Hey, you gotta look at it this way. Whatever needs to be informed will be informed to all speakers, right? But if you're constantly bombarding the account and then bombarding the events team with specific questions for yourself, you become a time seeker. So when we think about speaker mileage, we actually talk to other event organizers like, how was your experience with the speaker? Right? Were they demanding, right? And not demanding from a diva standpoint, but were they a novice with how they communicate and how they follow up with requests regarding certain items? And so the most important thing to think about speaker mileage is being fluid, right? Because if you're fluid, the person will always want to work with you. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean be a doormat. I'm not saying, let people just ignore your emails or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. We value our speakers. We love our speakers on our speaker network because they make the event possible. But what I'm saying is a candid reflection from an event organizer perspective that don't be that speaker that time drains the event team to the point that people know your name, but for the wrong reasons by the end of the event. You do not want to be that person. Okay? That's the first one. Second, speaker divaness. And this kind of ties into speaker mileage. Again, when event organizers are overwhelmed before the event starts, Why would you want to add to that burden by being a diva, right? So we've had speakers, for example, they confirm their speaker photo, right? They send their speaker photo and they say, you know what? I don't like how it looks. Can you do this photo? Can you do this photo? Can you do this? Can you do that? That's being a diva. Or we've even had speakers say, I don't like where my speaker photo is placed on the website. Can you move it to higher up? How dare you, right? And again, this is from an event organizer perspective. I'm being very candid and blunt. This is stuff that I promise you, you will not hear anywhere else. You do not know what agreements were made to place speaker profiles in certain positions on flyers, on websites, on marketing and promotions. So for you to email or reach out to event organizers and make demands as to how you are represented in terms of a speaker lineup, don't be that person, especially when it's very clear you're not the influencer hook. Remember, I talk about that speaker pie, right? The speaker pie, that influencer hook is going to be at the top headliner board of all marketing and promotions, right? And so don't be a diva where, for example, you come in, where's my food? Where's my this? Where's my that? Like, be patient with event organizers and also ask for what was provided. A lot of times we've had speakers, and especially new speakers, who certain things was never promised to them, but they demand it anyway. And we're confused and saying, like, when did we say that we're gonna give you, a private room only to yourself so that way you don't have to share a room in the green room space with other speakers? When was this confirmed? When did we say we were gonna give you a private security, right? And so I just want to make sure that you guys understand speaker divaness. You don't want to be remembered for that. And then finally, speaker etiquette, and this is big. This is not even before, so the first two is like usually before the event. This is usually during the event. Are you too salesy? Because a lot of times speakers get too salesy. They're just trying to sell on the line. And it's really rude if you're thinking that all you're going to do is just a one-time shot and just exhaust the opportunity and don't think long-term. Don't do that, right? Be very kind about how you're promoting not only your content, but also yourself. It's okay to promote yourself at the end of the talk or through the duration of a talk, right? But you got to do it in a way that's with finesse. So it doesn't feel like the audience is losing out, that you're just selling yourself, right? And finally, don't be rude to other speakers. We've seen this many times before where speakers are rude to either other speakers, they're rude to other moderators, they're rude to other team members. I've had some very sad situations where speakers, because they know me, they're very sweet and nice to me personally, but they are nasty on an email to my events team. Very disrespectful, very condescending. Keep in mind, my priority is to make sure that my events team are okay. I don't care who you are, government, celebrity, my priority is to make sure my event team is okay. So we've actually had to remove speakers on site for being rude to our team, right? And so don't be that person where you think that, oh, I'm only going to be nice to the event sponsors or to the event partners or the hosts and be completely rude to our volunteers. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you the amount of times that we've seen speakers be so rude to volunteers because they think no one else is watching. God is watching, right? Don't be that person where you're so rude and undermining to whoever is a vendor for the event, a speaker for the event, and in a virtual space, right, with the virtual events, right, your email communication, your chat communication, all that is all speaker etiquette. How you communicate online is all a part of it. So don't be that person. Be very kind and have the right speaker etiquette. It's not only just for the sake of the event and your career, just for the sake of your heart. Don't be that person. Be kind, be conscious, and be respectful. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who people are. And even if you don't believe in whoever you're talking to, just for the sake of respect, give it. Because respect is needed when it comes to any type of relationship, human to human. So let's start there. So I wanted to make sure that this part was very clear. Are you experienced with how you communicate, how you connect, and how you engage with event organizers, all right? So now let's talk about the next part, which is how do you source speaking engagements? And this is a big one because now that you're aware of how to package yourself for virtual events, right? Building that speaker profile, making sure people understand your relevancy, making sure people are aware that you have the right speaker experience in terms of your etiquette, your poise, your outreach, right? How do you now source speaking engagements? So let's talk about that. focus on conversion success. So in a sense, you're going to have to be systemized with this process, right? Because there's so many events, so many activations, and you could think about doing a basic course of action. So let's break it down to your hot leads, events that you know that you probably could get opportunities are warm leads where you're not too sure, but you know you fit the right profile, and cold leads, which is pretty much they never heard of you, they don't know you, and it's been pretty tough to work up that pie, but you want to reach out to them. So let's start with the hot leads. So for those of you who are experienced speakers, let's start with that. Whatever engagements that you spoke to within the past 5 years, I don't care if it was your high school, your college, or conferences, make a spreadsheet of all those events that you spoke at, send them all an email within the next week and say, hey, hope everything is well, with coronavirus epidemic. I don't know if you're, hosting any events or activations this year, but I just want to say I'm available and would love to share my expertise again with your network. I've spoken at virtual events, or I am planning on speaking at virtual events this year. Is everyone clear on that? Right? Because it's very important that you re-engage those touch points, because let's say you've spoken at in your career, again, whether it's at a conference, whether it's at your school, whether it's at a library. Let's say you've spoken at 20 events in your career lifetime, right? Email all of them. At least 10 of them will take notice. At least 5 of them will probably reply. And maybe at least 3 of them will say, okay, let's book you to come back, right? But that's still 3 engagements that you could promote to the public for people to know you about, right? And so that's the first one, your hot leads. Engage with all of them, right? Second are the warm leads. These are people that, in your network that, you know about, but you haven't really worked with them before, right? Make a list of them and then reach out to them and say, hey, we went to school together. I noticed that you are the host of the Africa conference every single year. Are you still looking for speakers? Here's my speaker lineup and my profile. So great to hear from you, and so amazing to see what you've done since we graduated school, right? That's a warm lead because that's someone in your network, right, that you know of. Or, hey, I've attended your events for the past couple of years, and I realized over the past couple of years at Haiti Tech Summit, for example, this content is never really featured, and I'm an expert on this topic. Are you looking for speakers, especially from attendees who've been a part of the community for so long? That's a warm lead. Finally, colds, and this is the one where a lot of you probably need to work on, whether you're experienced or a beginner, right? This is you reaching out to top events that you want to speak at. The first thing, there's 3 things you need to do when you're reaching out to these attendees. And again, in the personal branding accelerator I have, I use copy editing skills, like what to type in the email, what to put in the subject line, what to attach. But let's just go over that really quickly right here. First and foremost, look at the top 10 to 20 events that you want to speak at this year. Put them on a spreadsheet. Second, look at the speaker lineup first. Because again, the speaker lineup will again tell you the speaker pie. You'll be able to look at the website, look at their flyers and see, okay, this is the influencer hook, this is the sponsor, this is the partner, this is the, probably someone that they know within their network, and see where you fit, right? The most crucial thing you could do, instead of just emailing the organizer that you're available to speak, this is a powerful one, and this is something that helps tremendously. This will increase your conversion success by 40%. Look for gaps in the agenda and tell them 2 or 3 areas where you will fit. Let me repeat this, because this is going to be a very crucial element for you to really up your speaker conversion game, right? Because think about it, as an event organizer, I'm already inundated with requests, emails. There's so much on my plate. So let's say I have an agenda lineup from, let's say, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I have 50 different speakers for the day. If you email me and not only give me your speaker profile, but also tell me, hey, I noticed from 12 to 12:15, from 1 to 1:15, from 2 to 2:15, there are gaps in the agenda. And I also noticed that you don't have a speaker could talk about future of work, but this is a remote work conference. Can I be able to give you a quick 10-minute talk during these little gaps, right? And because you gave me several options, I don't have to think twice. I can just say, hey, event team, are those gaps really there? Let's just plug them in. I hope you guys really echo on what this is. I want to repeat that one more time. So you've gone beyond just emailing the event organizer, right, with your profile information and your relevancy, right? But now you're telling them, I want to make things easier for you, right? Here are the different places where I saw gaps where I could fit in easily into the schedule. Just easy as pie. Just put me right there, right? that helps, because a lot of times what people don't realize is when people email the account, we have to take it to another level where we got to think where we should place you. And you might think that's easy to do, but it's not, because we're thinking about, okay, I know your expertise, but do I know what topics you will fit in on the agenda? Because you might send me topics that you speak on, but I don't know if any of those will work with the agenda, right? By telling me where you could fit in 3 different areas, one, you tell me that this was a personalized email, right? Because you actually took the time to research our event and research our calendar, right? But second, you just told me that you're making things easier, which means, going back to speaker etiquette, right? That you're not going to be a diva speaker, that you really took the time, you care, right? And so really think about this when you're sending these outreach. Look at what the event agenda looks like and make it easier for the organizer. This is a gold tip. Again, when I first started my speaker career, when I first was into this, and people weren't booking me, I realized once I added that element where I actually looked at the agenda and told the organizer, where I could fit in the agenda, my conversion success in terms of replies went through the roof because of it. So always consider that added layer to it, so that way you could get that. And of course, have a template. We're reaching out to all 3 networks. So I usually have a document where I have an email template for my hot outreach, my warm outreach, my cold outreach. Obviously now, because I speak at so many events, I don't need to do that as much. Now I get a lot of referrals coming in, but I always tell people still have it ready, still use it, so that way you can optimize your time and your outreach, but also so you think coherently about how you reach out to event organizers and make sure that you customize in a way that makes sense, right? So here we are now, right? Part 1, we talked about the basics about the event ecosystem and the speaker circuit. Part 2, we talked about how to package yourself for virtual events. Part 3, now we're going to talk about how to monetize virtual speaking opportunities. And I know a lot of you waited to the end for this one, because this is a big one. And again, at every stage of today's webinar, I wanted to really challenge your thinking, your perspective about how things work behind the scenes. But this one is a fun one for you guys to engage in, because again, you might be thinking that there's a way to monetize your speaking engagements, but I'm going to tell you the better way and the best way to actually monetize your engagements. It's very crucial that you learn this, because this will also change how you just monetize your brand, because you got to think beyond short-term speaking gigs and think about long-term, your personal branding career, and how to make yourself independent of the event and make yourself prosperous over time. So let's go over that. So let's start with this. Advice for free events. So I'm going to start with speaking engagements for free events. A lot of times, if the event is free, right? If it's not offered to you, don't ask for compensation. And this is something I want to be very clear on, because a lot of times we've had speakers not only email the account to be speakers on our event, but actually blatantly say, I want to get paid. What is it? And you didn't take the time to look at it. It's a free event. And a lot of times people say, well, you have sponsors, you have partners. So what is the speaker fee? Just because we have partners or sponsors, usually that event is still probably at break even to make the event happen, right? And so you're better off not asking for a fee, right? For a free event, right? But build a relationship where you say like, hey, I know you're hosting this free event. I want to engage and give my content to you. You can even say, you know what, here's a free version of my content that I could speak at the event. But if you have any paid, any events in the future where you're actually have a budget for speaker base, I have a 3-hour version or 1-hour version or more in-depth version. So that way you're showcasing that you do charge for events, right? Which is okay, but you're aware of the event that you're reaching out to, right? And so make sure that's really important, that you're relevant when going free events. Let's start with for paid events. Now, this also gets tricky, because even though organizers charge for events, that doesn't mean they're making money, right? And a lot of times people don't realize that events are very expensive to host, especially if the event organizer is dealing with multiple stakeholders for that event, right? So in this situation, I would say it depends on the event. Ask if there's a budget, or how do they collaborate with speakers. I prefer that you say, How do you collaborate with speakers? Do you partner? Are there ways for speakers to be able to promote their books or promote their content or promote their courses, right? There's easier ways to do that, right? So that way you're not just, jumping the gun, especially if you're new. A lot of times it's important that if you're cold outreaching the event organizers, it's not good to also ask for what the fees are because you reach out to them, right? If you do a great job, they might say, I want to have you again. How do we do this? But again, a lot of times, some events, they might not pay speakers, but they give speakers some type of perk. Maybe it's marketing blast. Maybe it's, they sponsor their hotel, right? And not flights. So there's different ways that happen behind the scene. And I do in-depth workshop sessions on this topic, but it's important that you're very clear on how to approach for free events and how you approach for paid events. Be very cautious about how you go about it. And usually corporate hosted events can charge fees and provide fees, but usually third-party events that are not corporate events can't provide a budget, right? So you got to be very mindful of that. So for example, if any of the big corporates, there's Fortune 500 companies, they usually have a budget to pay speakers, right? So that could be an automatic thing you could reach out for. But if it's not a corporate entity hosting an event, usually it depends on what their budgets are. So be very mindful of that. Now, here's where I want to get to. So this is the basics, right? Free events, paid events. Let's talk about how to monetize your virtual speaking career the right way. And this is where we get into personal branding. And again, I have a whole personal branding accelerator on this topic, right? But I want you guys to understand this key element. You will make more money. And let me be very clear. You will make more money creating your own content products to promote at an event than asking the event organizer a fee for your talk. Let me explain. If you are in the speaker circle, which means you already have a brand, you have expertise, and you have not created content with that expertise, which is a webinar, an ebook, an e-summit, or just like a course, you're not ready to really monetize your speaking career. And I'll be very personal to you and to say that I was speaking as a speaker. My speaker career kicked off in 2011, scaled in 2014 with my first company. And it wasn't until 2016 that I figured out wow, when I created my first webinar, when I created my first ebook, when I created my first content where I charged for my expertise, that's when I started to monetize my brand. So it got to the point that even if I was getting speaker fees for engagements around the world, I made more money. So for example, I spoke at a conference in Malaysia where it was 7,000 people in the audience, 7,000 people in the audience. I wasn't paid for that engagement. They flew me out, they paid for my hotel, this, that, third, but I still generated $20K by advertising a course that I had at the end of the event. So here we have an event organizer inviting me to speak at the event, didn't give me a speaker fee, but I was able to say, if you guys like this talk and you want access to a full course or a full webinar or whatever after this event, right? I was able to sell more money at the end of the event. So who's really winning? The person that probably charged them $5,000 to speak at that event, or the person like me who was able to generate $20K in sales by promoting my content after the event? Who really won in that situation, right? And so what I'm trying to say is you need to really get creative about what expertise do you actually have and how did you package that expertise in a way for people to want to engage with you beyond the event? Because one thing I tell people, if you're going to take a speaking engagement, right? Obviously, you should always take as many engagements as you can because not only does it give you great practice, it gives you great exposure, but also leads to your speaker profile where people say, oh, wow, you spoke at so many diverse events. Try not to, avoid certain speaking opportunities. This usually is great no matter what they offer you, right? As long as it's something that fits in your schedule and fits in your purview. But the thing that you need to be very conscious is, what's your conversion post to the event, right? Are you trying to make sure that there's a long-lasting element after the event ends, right? And so I want to make sure that I end with this when it comes to monetizing virtual speaking engagements. Now we have an entire ecosystem. The world is now completely aware of virtual products, right? And so now you don't even need to fight to get people to understand an ebook or a webinar or any content. They completely understand that now. And so my advice for you is get really creative Build your speaking engagement careers by getting in front of as many eyeballs as possible, but start experimenting and creating these content priors so that way you can monetize your career independent of the event, and the event becomes pretty much an enabler and a catalyst for you to monetize your speaking career. So with that, I'll end with the bonus tips, and these are some bonus tips I shared at the previous webinar sessions. These are tools that I use on a regular basis, whether it's Canva for our marketing flyers, right, or Facebook to live stream some of my content, or Eventbrite to get people to ticket and book for my events. Make sure you're leveraging the tools that are at your disposal to get the word out there about what you do. Highly, highly recommend that you create some type of automation system with leveraging these different tools. Like Zapier is one of my favorite ones, where it helps me coordinate amongst different apps on a regular basis. With that, let's recap. So we went over a lot today, right? And one thing I will say is, hopefully you find this to have been a candid and upfront and bold session where I went over not only the basics of what an event is, what events are going virtual, how to understand the speaker circuit. We talked about, that speaker pie, but also the breakdown of how to actually build a public speaker career through virtual events this year, right? How to package your speaker, profile, how to store speaking engagements virtually, and how to monetize those speaking opportunities. Hopefully you find that useful. Each content piece honestly needs 3 to 4 hours in itself. I could break these things down into 10 more sessions for you, but I wanted to package everything for you guys so you could be more prepared and more enabled.
So you have done a lot. At the end of the day, this has been a very action-packed masterclass session, and I'm so proud of, many of you are thinking, what's next? This session, how to build a public speaking career via virtual events. The next step will require something from you that goes beyond trying to attend a simple speaking engagement, right? What do you actually need? And in many ways, many of you probably feel like, wow, that was so much content, very useful information, but how do I organize it into steps and strategies and activities that takes me to the next level, right? Of course, a successful career in speaking engagements requires a foundation. And that foundation is simply a personal brand that is predictable and profitable. Now, many of you have seen through the series of this session that, me getting to this point where I really got to a very successful speaker career where I'm speaking on main stages around the world did not happen easy. I've made so many different mistakes that I regret. I wish I had more support and strategy and advice along the way. And many of you might say, you know what, I'll do my best and go through trial and error and have the experience of figuring this out on your own. But again, let me help you. Let me help you put the pieces together and really connect the dots and really elaborate on what are the strategic decisions and steps you need to get to the top much faster and in a more efficient manner. Now, obviously, if you got tons of value out of this 1 hour session, imagine what 5 weeks of live coaching with me and training would look like to get you to that end conclusion from the comfort of your own home, right? Virtually on demand, getting access to live coaching from me to help you get to that successful speaker career with a successful foundational personal brand. And again, getting from this point to the next step is not something that happens overnight. It requires so much strategy. We could give you the shortcut strategies and frameworks that it took to get you there. Now, many of you might think, okay, well, I have an idea of what I need to have a successful speaker career, but how do I execute on it? Like, what bio do I need? What speaker topics do I need to create? How do I cultivate and position myself, my digital presence? How do I package my talks and monetize? What presentation style do I need? How do I create pipeline opportunities so I can create predictable economic opportunities based on my experience and my contacts? Again, it goes back to you need that foundation, a personal brand that is predictable and profitable. And I'm happy to share that I'm launching a course to help you launch your personal brand to do exactly that. In this course, I'm so excited to share this with you. I will show you how to create, build, and monetize your personal brand in 60 days or less. You'll be able to learn the framework I use personally to create a personal brand that helps me speak at over 100 different conferences, consult with over 80 different Fortune 500 companies, and generate over $1 million via courses, webinars, endorsements, and other digital access. I will show you how I was able to do that. And of course, when I think about, you having access to this exclusive course of helping you build your and launch your personal brand, you have to understand that, the speaker circuit, the industry is changing. So much is happening in the world, and being able to even have access to this for life is amazing, because as things adjust, as more opportunities arise, more resources, we update the course on a regular basis to make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information and resources to really help you accelerate your career. And of course, you have access to a live community where we have live peer group sessions where you get to learn and build bonds with other people who are also building their personal brand and their profile. And then finally, of course, you have me, right? Live coaching, where I and the team are going to be working hand in hand with supporting you and getting you to go beyond just, executing the activities, but actually just doing it and really learning from each milestone and seeing the progressive step happening in your life. Now, of course, you're going to get a lot from this course, right? You're going to get course templates, my tech tools, the personal tools that I use to automate my system, my guidebooks, my worksheets, my spreadsheets, hundreds of free links and tools to help you, the system I use to really automate my process, order your recordings. You're going to get a lot of information beyond the course to really make sure that you have the resources you need to get to that point to help you launch your personal brand in a profitable way. Now, again, I'll share that, my beginning, furrows into building a speaking career was not a big bang, right? I started by just speaking to a handful of people, to today where I'm speaking again at global conferences around the world and getting to meet so many unique people. I even remember my first TED Talk. Yes, like my first TED Talk. I remember it was such a huge day. And to this day, it's such a huge deal to be able to get on the TED stage and share your thought leadership with the world. I remember how nervous I was that people are actually trying to hear my thought leadership, my experience, and share that experience with others. And meeting people along the way, influencers, celebrities, presidents, heads of states. Again, as your thought leadership and your personal brand gets stronger and stronger, you get invited into the right rooms. You get to see an abundance of opportunities and doors open for you in ways you don't imagine. And of course, even the exposure that I've had. I mean, I've been featured in almost every mainstream outlet, from Forbes magazine to Ebony magazine to Entrepreneur magazine, even having one of my businesses featured in Harvard Business Review. It has been a journey of just really just opportunities that I didn't even see coming my way, that I probably wasn't prepared for, but was able to leverage because of having that strong personal brand, getting me out there, getting my thought leadership, building a speaking career that got me in front of audiences, to the point that when I look at my experiences today, I'm amazed at the journey it took to get there. And that's why having access to this really exclusive opportunity for the first time, I'm launching a live personal brand launch course where you can learn how to, again, create, build, and monetize your personal brand in 60 days and learn my frameworks and strategies is an exclusive opportunity. And to dive a little bit deeper, let me show you a little peek into the course. You can get a sense what happens when you join this course, especially for those who are still on the call. The first thing is, from the first milestone, the first week, you will walk away with an executive summary document outlining your personal brand launch goal, which includes an audit where we're going to walk through your experiences, your skill set, and really cultivate. It goes beyond a resume. Walk through what is your actual expertise and evaluate the gaps and opportunities for a successful personal brand launch. And then we move to the next week. And by the end of the next week, we're going to help you walk away with a personal brand business plan, where we're helping you turn your personal brand into a business. And that will require us showing you how to create your bio, your resume, a digital strategy, and a go to market strategy, because you need to market yourself, and we show you how to put yourself out there for abundance of opportunities. Then by week 3, we're going to show you how to create a flagship product. Yes, help you pilot a strategy to present a product where you monetize your expertise by first creating content that helps you monetize. And then finally, by week 4, we help you make money with that flagship product, right? So you'll walk away with a monetization plan, spreadsheets, budgeting, sales pipeline strategy, and profit scaling all in 1 week. That's going to be a very intensive week showing you how to make money with your expertise. And then we'll conclude the course with giving you a 30-day personal brand launch countdown to help you officially launch your personal brand and really get out there so you can build that career, get speaking engagements, get opportunities, and to be able to grow your influence and impact in this world in a way that makes you happy and fulfilled. Again, this is an exclusive personal brand launch course that launches in 7 days. It's really a great opportunity for you to get all of this. And by the way, if you are able to download and purchase this launch course now, as we're speaking, the extra added bonus that you will get is that you will get access to my operations. How do I cultivate a team to really help me manage the personal brand? How I was able to get my website live and optimized within 24 hours. Yes, I will walk you through how to build a site. You'll get access to all my marketing strategy plans, from how to get access to press, to how to get a content marketing strategy, to even how to build your email marketing strategy and funnel to get subscribers quickly, how I was able to get into the speaker circuit, and of course, how to get access to countless case studies to give you thought leadership examples of how you're able to really build and scale and monetize that personal brand immediately. That's a bonus if you book right now to join the course immediately. Of course, we don't have too many seats, so you really need to evaluate where can you be in 60 days with access to so much content to really help you get from point A to point B. So of course, this is a live offer. I want to share again that for those of you who are on the session right now, of course, in addition to the bonus, you get exclusive offer of 50% off. The original price for this is $1,997. Exclusive for you right now, you'll be able to access it at $997. So definitely hop in and get access to this and be able to truly get yourself to the next level. Because when I think about all the immense opportunities that have come my way because of having a solid personal brand, from speaking engagements to endorsements, to be able to monetize my expertise in a way that gives me a free flowing lifestyle and a lifestyle that I want, that happened because I was strategic and purposeful. And mind you, I had to learn all of this the hard way. I'm giving it to you in a package exclusive experience that helps you get to that point in 60 days or less. So please feel free to, just go in, join the live course now, how to create and build and monetize your personal brand in 60 days. You won't regret it. Learn the framework I use and take your career to the next level. I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing you in the sessions live with me in person. See you there soon. Have a great day.